Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the course Media in Society and Pakistan. Today I'm going to discuss with you Pakistani media laws and ethics. In this topic, there are different things that I'm going to discuss with you, like the executive summary of laws and ethics. And the second point is right to information, fundamental for freedom of expression. The third point is constitutional framework relating to freedom of expression and right to information. And fourth point, I'm going to discuss with you the legal framework on right to information in Pakistan. In fifth point, I will discuss with you media and media law in Pakistan, a legal framework on freedom of expression. And at the end, I'm going to discuss with you different laws related to print media in Pakistan. An executive summary. Here, when you talk about an executive summary of laws and ethics, freedom to hold opinion and free expression are fundamental for a thriving democracy. This right is recognized by various international instruments, international organizations, including the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Right to information is a primary element to hold an opinion, and independent and diverse media also play a central role in inform people and enabling them to hold their opinion. It also enabling legal framework to promote and protect people's right to information, restrict secretive practices of the government, and ensure independence and diversity of media is essential for it. In Pakistan, right to information, right to freedom of expression and speech had been recognized by the constitutions of 1956 and constitutions 1962. The Constitution of Pakistan 1973 includes a specific provision. It's the Article 19, which already discussed in the previous lectures on freedom of expression and speech. However, right to information was recognized as a constitutional right through 18th Amendment in 2010. Currently, more than 90 private satellite TV stations and over 140 private FM radio stations are operating in the country. 18th Amendment has made a right to information a constitutional right of the citizens of Pakistan. Prior to this, freedom of information laws were placed in Balochistan, Sindh, and at federal level. However, KP, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Punjab provinces enacted right to information laws in their respective jurisdictions in 2013 after the 18th Amendment. As I discussed above, media landscape of Pakistan has witnessed an exponential growth during past 13 years. This expansion in media market can largely be attributed, along with various other factors, to the promulgation of Pakistan Electronic Regulatory Authority PEMRA ordinance. The PEMRA ordinance has discussed in previous lectures. The government also promulgated a number of other media related laws, such as the Press Council Ordinance, the Defamation Ordinance, and the Press Newspapers, News Agencies, and Books Registration Ordinance. In addition to these laws, The Newspaper Employees Act 1973 was also in an existence. One of the objectives of the PIMRA law was to ensure accountability, transparency, and good governance by optimizing the free flow of information. Wherever these laws provide for free flow of information, the provision are either conditional or subject to certain limitations. So this was an executive summary about Pakistani laws and ethics. The next step is right to information, fundamental for freedom of expression. Here I am going to discuss with you that freedom to hold opinion and free expression are fundamental for a thriving democracy. Article 19 of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights states that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. It also says that everyone shall have the right to freedom of expression. Further, it states that the right to free expression includes freedom to seek, receive, and import information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. Prior to the recognition of right to information is a primary element to hold an opinion through about two 20th century developments. Two developments in the 18th century are quite significant in this regard. First is the Sweden's Freedom of Information Law, and the second one is the First Amendment in the American Constitutions 1791. Sweden's laws is termed as the premier legal instruments in the world on freedom of information. The First Amendment constitutionally guarantees freedom of speech, which necessitates free access to information. Similarly, there is another, a Latin American country, therefore Colombia, which enacted law on publicity of official documents in 1888. Finland also enacted a law on openness of government activities in 1951. Principle on freedom of information drafted by the Article 19, a United Kingdom based organization working on freedom of expression, and it endorsed by the United Nations a special reporter on freedom of opinion and expression in 2000. It declared that the law should provide for a number of mechanisms to address the problem of a culture of secrecy within a government. So besides this, an independent and diverse media also plays central role in informing people, and it also enabling them to hold their opinion. But if you look at Pakistan, in Pakistan during past 13 years, the information and media milieu have completely changed. Prior to 2002, the country did not have any law to provide freedom of information to the people. Similarly, there was only a state-run, or you could say the controlled electronic media available in the country. However, the President General Pervez Musharraf introduced the Freedom of Information Ordinance in 2002, along with various media-related laws regulations in 2002. The promulgation of the PAMRA ordinance in 2002, it allowed private sector to own electronic media outlets like satellite TV and FM radio stations in Pakistan. At present, more than 90 private satellite TV stations and over 140 private FM radio stations are operating in the country. However, despite all these things, freedom of expression and media's independence is still a serious question in the country. Though right to information laws in two of the provinces have witnessed a crucial paradigm shift from secrecy to transparency. Media-related laws are not very conducive to this change. Many of the media-related laws are either silent or have very little reference to the right to information, particularly the PIMRA law, which aims to improve the reference to the right to information and also improves the standards of information, education, and entertainment. And it ensures accountability, transparency, and good governance by optimizing the free flow of information. It is besides the fact that the official Secret Acts in 1923 is still present on the statute books of the country. So it's an effort to read through media related laws of the country with a view to see how much they speak about citizens' right to information. And third, constitutional framework relating to freedom of expression and right to information. Here I am going to discuss with you different things. First, but a short-lived Constitution of Pakistan 1956 and the Constitution of Pakistan 1962 mentioned a number of individual freedoms, including freedom of speech and expression. Existence Constitution, therefore, the Constitution of 1973, this Constitution contains an explicit provision on freedom of speech and free press. The parameters of free speech and media freedom and limits on this freedom are mentioned in Article 19 of the Constitution. This article states that every citizen shall have the right to freedom of speech and expression, and there shall be a freedom of the press in the country, subject to any reasonable restrictions imposed by the law, in the interest of the glory of Islam or the integrity, security or defense of Pakistan, or you could say any part of friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency, or the morality, are in relation to the contempt of court. Though the article has a unique reference to the freedom of the press, it is silent regarding right to information or freedom of information. Considering explicit absence of reference to the right to information in Article 19, a new article, the Article 19A, was inserted in the Constitution through 18th Amendment in 2010. As a result of this, Pakistan joined a small community of those countries which recognized the RTI as a constitutional right. Every citizen shall have the right to have access to information in all matters of public importance, subject to regulation and reasonable restrictions imposed by law. As you all know, the famous Memogate scandal, the Supreme Court declared that Article 19A of the Constitution has empowered the citizens of Pakistan by making access to information a justiciable right of people. The court further stated that this article has enabled every citizen to become independent of power centers, which therefore were in control of information on matters of public interest. In the fourth point, I'm going to discuss with you the legal framework on right to information in Pakistan. Here, the work on right to information in Pakistan dates back to 1990, when Professor Khurshid Ahmad, Naib Amir of Jamaat Islami, he introduced a private member's bill in the Senate in this regard. However, the bill could not attract the attention of the House. But later in 1990, the government of former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto established an anti-corruption committee headed by late Malak Qasim to look into those cases of corruption and make recommendations on it. One of the key recommendations of the committee was to enactment of a Freedom of Information Act. The caretaker government of Malik Miraj Khalid, he promulgated an ordinance on freedom of information in 1996. The ordinance promulgated by the caretaker government of Malik Miraj Khalid lapsed as the elected government of Nawaz Sharif in 1999. He didn't present it before the parliament for enactment. The Freedom of Information Ordinance in 2002 was the first legal instrument which recognized the freedom of access to information as a statutory right. The FOI ordinance was promulgated by the President General Pervez Musharraf in October 2002. And this ordinance is applicable to the federal government only. Similar laws were also promulgated or enacted in the provinces of Balochistan and Sindh. Being limited in scope and applications, complicated in the procedure, aspects, and restrictive in providing access to informations, these laws were termed as ineffective by civil society groups. Therefore, when the work on the 18th Amendment of the Constitution started, the civil society campaigned for recognition of right to information is a constitutional right, and Article 19A was added in the Constitution of Pakistan in 2010. This inclusion of Article 19A changed the paradigm and debate on access to information in the country. Previously, entire debate was revolving around the freedom of information. As a result of Article 19A, the discourse of information moved to right to information. The Article 19A requires further legislation to detail out the process of access on information and list down. Therefore, all the provinces as well as federal government are supposed to enact right to information laws for their respective jurisdictions. In response to the requirement of this article, KP and Punjab introduced progressive and robust rights to information laws in 2013. The laws are also known as the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Right to Information Act and the Punjab Transparency and Right to Information Act. These both acts were introduced in 2013. These laws draw exceptions clearly and narrowly, and it provides easy and cost-effective access to information. These laws provide dedicated and independent information commissions to deal with the complaints of information requesters. Further, the laws provides penalty for non-compliance of orders of the information commissions. Under these laws, all provincial public bodies as defined in the laws are duty bound to publish their annual reports. Similarly, these laws do not require description of specific interest when informations are requested. In the fifth point, I am going to discuss with you media and media law in Pakistan, a legal framework on freedom of expression. As you all know that the media landscape of Pakistan has witnessed as exponential growth during past 13 years. This expansion in media market can largely be attributed, along with various other factors, to the promulgation of the Pakistan Electronic Media Regulatory Authority. The PEMRA ordinance allowed private sector to own electronic media outlets like satellite TV and FM radio stations in Pakistan. This was not the first time when media related laws were promulgated in Pakistan. Various laws regarding to media and journalists were introduced during the dictatorial regimes and the elected governments. The West Pakistan Press and Publication Ordinance. This ordinance was introduced in 1963, and the Newspaper Employees Act. This act was introduced in 1973. These ordinances are among the most important legal instruments. However, except the Newspaper Employees Act, none of the media-related laws were debated in the country. A careful review of the laws shows that these laws are mainly designed to regulate, or it is controlled or manage media from government perspectives. Citizens' right to information, however, was not the main target or purpose of these laws. Next, there are different laws for media. So I'm going to discuss with you print media laws. As mentioned above, there are many laws which deal specifically with the print media. Therefore, these laws can be termed as print media laws. Here is an account of these print media laws with reference to the right of information. The first one is the Newspaper Employees Act. This act was introduced in 1973. The law deals with the working condition of newspapers, employees, including journalists. Therefore, there is no express provision relating to right to information given in this act. However, it may be argued that working conditions can have direct bearing on performance of the workers. It improved working conditions and it also helped journalists or workers to perform their duties with required yield and satisfactions. Since the duty of the journalist is to keep people informed, and enabling work environment can help them perform this job appropriately. The second point is the Press Council Ordinance. This ordinance was introduced in 2002. The Press Council Ordinance primarily provides for the establishment of the Press Council of Pakistan. The purpose of this council is to implement the ethical code of practice as set out in the schedule to the ordinance. The Press Council also mandated to maintain highest professional and ethical standards of newspapers and news agencies, with a view to making them more responsive to the issues and concerns of this society. The freedom of press and public awareness is the foundation of democracy, and the function of democracy and the principles of accountability, it depends on the free flow of information and freedom of expression without infringing on national interests. However, there is no specific provision in the law relating to freedom of information or access to information. The council is under the obligation to publish the report, forward it to the federal government, and to make it available for the public. The next point is the Defamation Ordinance. This ordinance was introduced in 2002. The Defamation Ordinance is one of the laws which were promulgated by the President General Musharraf as a package of media laws in 2002. Prior to this ordinance, defamation was a criminal offense under the Pakistan Penal Code. This code was introduced in 1860. However, under the Defamation Ordinance, one can file a suit, a case of civil court jurisdiction for damages as well. The ordinance defines different kinds of defamation like libel and slander. The libel and slander is I have discussed these things in previous lectures. So if you have any question regarding to this lecture, you can ask me directly, or you can comments in the KCMS account.